Good morning and welcome to the Mind Hiking Podcast. I'm your host, Brody Frye, and we all obviously know that life it's got its seasons, its ups and downs, and it's got its tides. There's struggle, and sometimes it feels like it would never end. Sometimes you hit good seasons, and then it's just like boom, 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 one after the other problems, and you just start questioning everything, and you start getting lost in your mind. And sometimes the only way out of that is a swift kick to the teeth mentally. So this episode, that's what I'm going to try to do for you guys, is kind of shock you out of if you guys are stuck in a struggling loop, if you guys are going through some hardship, which typically most people are, we'll try to shock you out of that. So with that said, stay tuned. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Brody Frye, and here we dive deep into difficult questions. We'll map out thoughts, theories, and crazy ideas for the love of knowledge and growth. So, how do we answer some of the mind's toughest questions? This is the Mind Hiking Podcast. Good friggin' morning, my loyal listeners, because I know you're listening in the morning, and I appreciate it. Today, we're going to try to start out strong, start out swinging here, so let's get right into a story. So, once upon a time, there was a little bird, and this little bird was flying south for the winter, like they do, except this little bird kind of had some struggles and just, wasn't feeling it, and kind of woke up late and just got packing up late, and just kind of was like, everything about this season was late for this birdie, which happens to all of us. But this little bird was running behind. All the friends and family members of this bird were already down south, and this bird was kind of lagging or dragging behind a little bit. So started to catch some of the cold weather on the flight down, and this little birdie ran into a blizzard, a snowstorm, on its flight down south, and ended up getting stuck, and it ended up getting cold, freezing, and having to land in a field, which it quickly found out that it was just a farm field, a pasture, and next thing you know, a cow comes walking up and just takes a big shit on this freezing little birdie. And the bird was so upset at first, and then it realized, oh wait, this shit is warm. And it actually enjoyed it, because when you're freezing that much, like, anything that's warm is gonna feel good. So it's just huddled up in this pile of shit, and it started to warm up and feel so much better that it started just chirping away and singing its little bird songs. And so while it was singing, next thing you know, the barn cat of this farm heard all this ruckus, all this noise, all this singing, and came over to investigate. So the farm cat just digs through this pile of shit and pulls out this little birdie and eats it. So the moral of the story is, not everybody who shits on you is your enemy. And not everybody that digs you out of shit is your friend. But most importantly, when you're in deep shit, keep your mouth shut. Life is a goofy thing, because it likes to play tricks on you. It's so funny how it's like, you want to hear something, and then, like, when you're in a situation, it's so tough to understand how you're supposed to take it. It's like, every time you think you know something, you got to relearn the lesson. It's like, life always has something to teach you. And every time you think you got it right, every time you think you know what to expect, it's wrong. And it's funny, because it's like, what are the real answers? I don't know if the purpose is that there are no real answers, and to always be prepared for anything, to keep an open mind, or what. But it's ironic, just, you know, there's always situations like that where you just never know what to expect. It's life is just one crazy roller coaster of a ride. And with all these experiences that we go through, it's interesting too. And one of the biggest issues too is, like, with social media, people, especially nowadays, are like fixated on comparison, and like trying to better themselves, which is understandable and honorable. But the issue is that they compare to other people who are in other situations, with other skill sets, with other experiences, at other levels. And you can't be, you're going to depress yourself even further if you're comparing to, because all you see on social media is the highlights, the best of the best people's lives. Like, you're taking, like, people that you already look up to, and then they get to filter out the highlights of their life, and that's all you're seeing is the highlights of the best lives. And it's like, you're comparing to that. Obviously that's going to make you depressed, because it's like you don't get to see the struggles that they're going through. All you get to see is all of your struggles, and then you get to look at other people's highlights. So now you're sitting here like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? So that's a major issue. And when it really comes down to it, there is comparison that you should be doing. But the only comparison that matters, that comparison that you should be doing, the only comparison that you should be doing is comparing yourself to who you were yesterday. And that's the only thing that matters. Improving each and every day. Because if you're going day by day, getting better than the last, you line that up in a series, just imagine where you'll be in a couple months. Imagine where you'll be in a year. Time's on your side. Time is your friend. If you can better yourself one by one, you're going to be one incredible person. And that's all you can do, is compare who you were before, and just ignore the rest of the people, because you'll shortly find out that everybody else is going to be looking up to you like that. Because you just got to work on yourself, and you're going to far surpass everybody else like that. Just keep your eyes on the prize, and compare only to who you were yesterday. That's all that matters. And when you're working at life like this, especially if you're trying to strive for a goal or a dream of yours, it's funny because people keep, like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And so many people do that without even realizing it. It's so interesting to me that, like, if people wonder why their lives aren't different, or why they can't have this stuff, but they're sitting there like recycling the same day over and over again, and they're just struggling and complaining about it. And if you want something new in your life, if you want something different in your life, if you want something new, you got to do something you've never done. If you want something different out of your life, you got to do something that you've never done before. It's a cost. The cost of the life that you want is the life you're currently living. It's a trade-off. There's no continue what you're doing right now. And it's like, if you want beans, if a farmer's trying to wants to grow beans, and they're planting corn, they've only ever grown corn, and they want beans next year's harvest, and they just keep planting corn, and then they're like, why the fuck am I not getting any beans? It's because they haven't planted anything different. You're reaping what you sow. So if you're sowing the same thing over and over, and then harvest season comes around and then you go to reap what you sowed, and it's the same thing you've been doing. That's because you haven't been doing anything different. And then you're sitting there wondering why you're getting the same thing over and over again. So that's something that you got to figure out for yourself. And obviously that's unique for each individual and something that you guys got to discover on your own. But, and that goes for problems too. Life definitely likes to freaking kick everybody's butt now and then, especially if people are stuck in a loop, and especially if people are asking for something different and then they get something different, and then it's a huge kick in the teeth because they weren't prepared for it, but they were asking for it. So it's kind of a little ironic there. Like a common thing is like say you get bitten by a snake, like a venomous snake. Here's how the normal people would handle a situation like that. If they were bitten by a poisonous snake, which is life, if you get handed a problem, this is all hypothetical. If you get handed a problem, which is like being bitten by a venomous snake, now you're sitting there, and the typical response to in the life situation, how people would handle that is sitting there asking the snake why. Why would you do this to me? Why did you bite me? They get mad at the snake. If you got bit by a venomous snake of life, you get mad at the snake and you ask why? Why me? Why did you do this to me? Now don't you see I already have all these other problems? Now I have to deal with this. Are you kidding me? And they sit there and sulk like, oh, just another problem. Can't believe this snake just bit me. It's funny. Isn't it funny? I think that's so funny because if you actually got bit by a venomous snake, that's not how you would react. But when life bites you, that's how we react. It's just funny to me. If a venomous snake actually bit you, you'd rapidly try to come up with a solution or find somebody that can help you and get that venom out and heal your wound. You wouldn't even be focused on the snake. You'd be focused on the problem and the injury and coming up with a solution to resolve that. You wouldn't be asking the snake, why did you just do that? So it's just funny how like different situations that actually can be compared like that end up like us as humans just react like in these sort of ways. It is super interesting to me that the fact that when we're put in struggling, hardship, and situations like that, just the way we respond, but we can't really see it, especially when we're like knee deep in our problems. It's tough to see when you're in the problem, but when you're kind of above looking down on the issue, it's a lot easier to understand. But these hardships in life are so crucial, especially if you're asking for greater things out of life, especially if it's your goals and dreams you're trying to reach. And life's not just going to hand you things. You don't just get things out of life. You don't just get handed things out of life. There's always a cost. There's always an expense. Even if you grew up in a privileged home, if your parents were rich and you got everything you ever asked for, there's a cost for that. There's a long-term cost for that. It's going to come back. You're going to struggle. You're going to go through some hardship where somebody that worked their way up is going to be able to get through any little problem. But somebody that was handed everything is all that's doing is like rolling up the snowball, and it's going to roll right back on you once you can't carry it, or once your parents aren't there to help you roll it and the weight's on yourself. So it always comes back to bite you. And it's like, that goes for anything. Everything's got to go through hardship, not just human beings. Like grapes, for example. You got to crush grapes to create wine. That's a great example, because grapes you got to crush them, and they got to go through all of that grinding and crushing to create beautiful wine. And we've talked about on the podcast before, diamonds Coal needs to be under extreme pressure for a long time to create diamonds. And that's just like humans. Sometimes humans need to be crushed to create fine wine. Crushed and aged, and then same thing. Humans need to be under extreme pressures for a long time, and the ones that are under extreme pressure for a long time and that can handle it for that long become diamonds. And the last little example I got for you is the only way for seeds to grow is in darkness. You plant them down in the dirt and they grow in darkness. So when you think everything is dark and you're alone, that's your moment to grow. When you're being crushed under extreme pressure for a long time and sitting in darkness, that's your moment of transformation. This is your time to grow. This is your time to transform. Take this and be grateful for these lessons. Be grateful for this moment of transformation. You never want to judge somebody based off their current situation, because they could be in a moment of transformation. Time, like I said, is our friend, and it's got a way with working with humans, and it's amazing. Just give things a little bit of time, and the last person you'd expect to be in a certain situation, could just pass you by in a flash, what you think is a flash, but really they've been under extreme pressure, being crushed for so long and sitting in darkness for so long that they far surpassed you in that moment, and you didn't even see them until they're way above you. Life is wild like that, and likes to play funny games and drag you through just hardship and darkness and pressure and hard spots. It's just how we grow. That's how we learn, how we got to go through that stuff. And sometimes, even for me, like, if I were to ask God, like, why, God or the universe, whatever language you'd like to use, why, or even if it's just your own thoughts in your own head, however you want to see this, asking your questions in your head. Why are you leading me through this? God, why would you lead me down this path? Why are you taking me through all this hardship? The best answer that I can find is that the reason why God takes you through rough waters is because he knows your demons can't swim. If he can grind you through the things that you believe are the toughest things in life, if he can put you under extreme pressure, he knows that you're becoming pure. And that's like silver too. You burn off the impurities. You go through extreme pressures, and the demons can't handle that. Your enemies can't handle the pressure. But if you can, you're going to come out pure. They're burning off all the impurities, the imperfections, and it's just going to be left with a more pure you. It sucks, and it's a really tough thing for all of us, but that is what it takes out of life, and it's just it's a hard thing. It's a really hard thing for all of us. And it's much easier for me to sit here and say all this stuff. But again, we're all going through our own situations, and you never know what somebody's going through. Even if you talk to them, you can't feel their emotions as they do. And people can take things harder than other people, depending on their past situations. I mean, they're all it is just chemical and electrical pulses in our minds, and situations can be taken totally different depending on past experiences and in the consciousness of each and every one of us. You know, some people might think that, like, if something negative happened to one person, that could be a loss of everything to them. And then another person, that could just be another day on the job kind of thing, another day at life. It's like people think they lose everything, but they never really do. We're always okay. We always are safe in our minds where nothing can get us there. You just look around every year. I mean, this example is not going to really apply to people down south, but up north here, every year, every fall, the trees, they lose everything. Trees lose all their leaves every single year. But you know what they do? They stand tall through the full winter. They stand tall and proud all winter long, all through that struggle, all through that hardship, just to receive new growth in a whole fresh set of leaves every year, every spring. And they don't doubt it. They don't question it. They don't question that cold winter. They don't question that hardship. They just stand tall and know that their success is coming. And they get through it just like that. It's funny how, like, especially us as humans just perceive struggle and success and in value, how we perceive value in things. Because if you're really struggling with yourself and are down on yourself, like why, or like stuck in your job, or like not happy with how life is going right now, sometimes it's not even you. Sometimes if you feel like you're doing everything right, but nothing's changing, nothing's going your way, sometimes it just comes down to your location. Sometimes it comes down to where you're putting yourself. Like, think about this. A bottle of water could be like 50 cents at a grocery store. And then say at the gym it's $2. Say at the movie theater it's $4. Say on an airplane it's $6 or $8 for a water bottle. Did the water change? No. Literally nothing's different about the water. The water's the same. The only thing that changed is the location, where the water put itself. I mean, obviously it's humans putting the water and valuing it for the location, but what I'm saying is sometimes you're just in the wrong spot. Sometimes you are doing everything right. Sometimes the only thing you need to do is change your location. Maybe you're just not valuable in the spot that you're at. Maybe you're extremely valuable anywhere else. Maybe you can provide extreme value. Maybe people would kill to have the value that only you can provide. But you're just in the wrong spot. You're in a flooded spot where people like you are abundant, and you need to move yourself to a spot where your skill set is much more needed and much more sought after and much more valuable. Sometimes the location is all that matters. And you hear that in real estate all the time too. It's all about location, because it's funny. It's a real thing where people put themselves just can completely change the value of what it is and what it's providing. And what's funny too is you sit there and you think something's wrong with you when you're doing everything right. Like, how many self-help books do you read? How much help do you search after? Even if you're like going through therapy, trying to figure out if something's wrong with you. Maybe nothing's wrong with you. You're just in the wrong spot. You're sitting there. You spent your whole life fighting demons. And you're just stuck with this one. There's just one demon that's really keeping you down. Just this one demon that's kicking your ass, and it's just like, it makes you not want to get up in the morning. Like, you don't want to get out of bed because this one demon. You start to question why. What's the purpose of sitting up and getting out of bed? This one demon is just keeping you down. You can't get through it. You've spent your entire life fighting demons. You've been doing this your whole life. What makes you afraid of this one? What makes you scared of this one? You've gotten this far. You've kicked demon ass your whole life. There's no difference in this one. It's just another challenge. And you've been succeeding through these challenges your entire life. And you're going to get through this one. You have enough time. Time is on your side, and you'll get through this. That's a good thing. You want demons fighting you. You want the struggle. You want, if you're sitting there coasting through life, and life is easy, things haven't been hard on you, things have been super easy, you're just coasting through life, going through it, and it's super nice and easy, and the devil's not fighting after you, the devil's not taunting you, the devil's not making you question yourself, the devil's not trying to tempt you. If the devil's not fighting against you, you better question whose path you're on. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Hopefully that gave you a little bit of a shock and we can get you out of that sulking loop of yours. And I hope this helped. I love you guys all. If you guys like this episode or any of my other episodes, please 5-star review on Spotify. Share it with a friend. I love seeing you guys spread this word. I love seeing this podcast grow. Don't forget to follow it on Spotify and share it around. That'd be awesome. I love hearing you guys when you reach out to me, so don't be afraid to do that. Follow me on Instagram, Brody_Frye_63. And don't forget to tune in for next week. Thanks, guys. Have a great week.